Hey everyone, I'm Sam Valenti. Welcome to another episode of Backlot Pass. You might know today's guest from films like Murphy's Law, Witchboard, and Roadhouse. She's not only a great actor, but a great musician as well. Kathleen Wilhoite. Kathleen, welcome to the show. It's such an honor to be talking with you today.
An honor to be talking to you.
So I want to kind of get into something that I saw you recently did. I read that you were recently a part of this spoken word show in Sierra Madre. Would you mind kind of talking about that and sort of what you did in that show?
Ah, I my friend Elizabeth Sampson was the producer, and she asked. I used to do spoken word a lot, and I'd end out each piece with a song, and I haven't done it in years. So she asked me to do her show, and I was like, I got nothing. I can't. She said, well, the theme is in a blink of an eye. Can you write something that involves that theme? So I sat down, and the piece that came to me was about my recently deceased father, who died on March 16th at 7:15 p.m. And my whole piece, I know, a cheery subject, but it was actually kind of funny, which whatever, it's just my gallows humor. But um I wrote my piece about how I became an orphan in the blink of an eye. And that was, at that time, at March 16th, 7:15 p.m., I became an orphan. So that's what I did my piece on. It was 1,600 words. We and yeah, that's what I did. It was fun. It was fun to get back up on the old horse, as it were. I like doing that. It was fun. I enjoyed it. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm really glad to hear that you've been able to kind of keep busy and stay productive with all this strike stuff going on. So
I always do. I always do. I'm shooting like on my iPhone a little film I'm making up as I go along with my pal. It's just which I know it's an actor strike. It's just for us, it's a silly whatever. But it's fun. You can do it, with iPhones now. You can shoot your own movie. It's incredible. You as an Arizona State guy, are you currently a student there, or have you graduated?
yes, I'm currently a student at ASU. Yeah.
Oh, nice. What's your major?
Well, I'm majoring in a sports journalism. I really want to go into a broadcasting.
Oh, how cool. Well, what a good way to do it with podcasts. The point is that right now it's kind of a punk rock renaissance in media, I think, because with the internet, we can all do it. You're doing it. I'm doing it on my iPhone. People are releasing music. I mean, you don't have to have the gatekeepers as much as you used to back in when I was your age. You had to get a record deal, and usually they were like upwards to $200,000, and nobody signed to anybody because so much money was at play. And when you recorded, it cost you $4,000 a day to record at Ocean Way. Now you can do it in your living room, and it sounds just as good. It really does. I hate to say it, and people want to think that it has everything to do with the location. It just doesn't, because they can digitally mimic it identically. So you literally can do it in your living room, which is incredible as for a creative person, because those gatekeepers are inspiration stiflers. And I've always hated that they had so much power over creative people. And I say to your generation, get going.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such a great thing. Like you said, how there's so many, different avenues to that creativity. And when there's like so many different ways for people to, really just express themselves and get involved, do stuff, it's really awesome.
I mean, TikTok, if it wasn't like a spy mechanism or whatever the negative connotations are, or facts, I guess, uh, it's pretty incredible when you think about it. People are making hilarious videos all the time, and they're rewarded because the ones that are popular, I won't say necessarily good, but the ones that are popular obviously connect to the general populace, and they get seen. So you don't have to have some nerdy ding dong at the top of the heap going, not you. How about you? Or you? Those are the people I despise.
Yep. I totally agree. Now, another thing I've kind of seen you been doing is I've seen you, out picketing and stuff. You've been out there with all the strikes of stuff going on. So what's that been like? No, I even saw that I think I saw on Instagram that you said that you've been kind of seeing some familiar faces out there on the picket lines, with you.
Well, I've been going with my buddy Harold Pirino. He was in Lost. He's an actor. We've done a couple movies together. Great guy, great friend. And something that's really evident to me is that I am the kind of actor that is being most profoundly impacted by these dwindling residuals, the archaic pay system that was created back when 36 million people watched, a Family Ties in the 80s. And that's just not the way it is today, And so when I started seeing people that I thought were in fantastic shows like The Bear, I think that writer and a couple of those actors have come out recently and spoken about how they were in this number one show. We've all watched it. The show tapped into such a deep place in my heart, with how what a accurate reflection of that world, that restaurant frantic world they were able to encapsulate. Anyway, those guys couldn't make their health insurance. Like, that's insane. So I think that for me to sit out on and picketing is would be really giving up, because I am the type that gets impacted by that. I guess like 2 years ago, I didn't make my health insurance, but it was COVID and I'm 59, 2 years ago, whatever, 56. There's not the same amount of roles as there are for people who are 38 or 35 or 28. Like, you get into your 50s, you don't want to admit it, you don't want to talk about ageism, but it's true. They're just not as many parts. They're not, it's not adventures of a 59-year-old menopausal lady, as a detective. Those are not, going to beat the numbers that Euphoria is going to garner, right? So it's just facts that, who was it? My friend told me that like guys like Ed Asner didn't make their insurance. This is criminal. This is criminal for, anyway, so these kinds of things I believe need to be remedied, and it starts at the top. And those people that are making $78,000 a day, I find it, especially, they're not even creative. They don't even create anything. They weaseled their way like a slithering salamander to the top of the heap based on, privilege. And what were they like? And when they were your age, they were answering phones and kissing. Can you swear on your thing?
Yeah.
Kissing ass, and just like, these are despicable slime balls that are making $78,000 a day, basically, because they, wormed their way up the corporate ladder. And the creatives that actually bring the eyeballs to the screen, which is where the revenue lies, they don't get anything. It's just, I mean, not anything, but they don't get properly paid. If the people from shows like The Bear can't make their health insurance, wow, something is profoundly wrong with the setup. And God bless Fran and the people at the top, and the people that have the balls and the tenacity to be involved in our Screen Actors Guild government. I applaud them, and I hope that our tenacity wins out. That's what I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. I am right there with you. And I mean, if there's one thing that I just truly despise, it's the corporate suits.
Oh,
just terrible.
right, just terrible. And then, I remember I had this moment. For a while, my husband plays tennis, and we belonged to this tennis club. And I was sitting around with these ladies who were like making fun of and laughing at the people that were working in the restaurant at the tennis club. And I'm looking at them, and the first of all, racism, snobbery, it was at play. It was so revolting. But I realized that these women had not, and this is gonna, I don't want this to sound anti-female because it's not. What I'm railing against is this hierarchy that exists, and we all know it exists, even though they may go to the most expensive dinners for Democratic politicians, etc. But this hierarchy exists, and these women were, I think, making fun of or looking down on people who were working class people. And what did they do to get to their position? They married the right dude in the 70s or the late 60s. They married one of those corporate weenies, which enables them to sit up there with their dead faces, dead eyebrows, fat lips, and look down on people who are actually punching in a time clock and making an honest buck. It sickened me. Anyway, also so I got off on a tangent. The point is, I don't like people who luck into their position, weasel their way to the top of the heap, and look down on those of us who are trying to work and trying to create. And like you doing footwork for your podcast, I mean, I gotta tell you, I know George Clooney, back in the day, he was just a auditioning actor. We did this show together years ago, we hang around with the same people. I want George Clooney, what's that guy's name? I have menopause brain, but like, what about our 1%? Ryan Reynolds, George Clooney, what's that guy's name? He's so funny, comedian. Anyway, our 1% should create a sort of artists first Netflix, right? And honor creative people that have helped to make them, our actors 1%. I think they should do that. And then they should adhere to the Actors Guild demands and the Writers Guild demands. And then everybody would funnel their projects into the George Clooney, Ryan Reynolds, Taylor Swift, I don't know, Denzel Washington network. That's what I've decided. What do you think?
Yeah, hey, that sounds like a great idea. I think we need to start a petition, get some signatures on that thing.
Yeah. So whatever, blah blah. I don't know anything either. So that's just my dumb opinion. If I had power, I had a friend who had a ton of money. She has a ton of money, Brinks truck backed up into her front yard and just dumped dough onto her grass. Was a showrunner, and I was like, she bought herself like 3 houses, and she'd do things like expand her kitchen by 12 inches. That's what she'd spend her money on. And I told her once we were hiking, I was like, why don't you buy a little section of the rainforest and just make sure there are no poachers on it and keep it pristine. Like, you could do stuff like that with your money. You could buy, and she's like, what? Like, it was inconceivable to her to, I don't know, to do something other than make her life more comfortable. It's just freaking revolting. I don't know. If I were king of the forest, if I got the Brinks truck in my backyard, I guarantee there'd be people going to school. There'd be dogs let out of the shelters into, homes and rescues. And I'd buy a freaking slice of the rainforest and keep it pristine. That's what I'd do. But I am not. I'm a lowly working class actress out picketing for my in order to maintain my ability to have health insurance. That's what I am today.
I think the world would be a better place if you had Jeff Bezos money. I think the world would be a much better place.
When I'm telling you, I think so too. I always daydream. I always pretend like I tell my husband, "Did you play the lottery?" He's like, yes. I said, you better win because I'm getting sick of losing, sick of it, not tolerating it anymore. And, and then we daydream about what we do with, whatever the pot was, $28 million. Truth is, I would like a little theater and I could put up my plays. That would be fun. I would like that too. Anyway, life's good. See, dreaming big, no matter your age. How old are you? 22?
Let's see,
20.
I'm 21.
Fantastic. You got the world ahead of you. I'm so excited for your life. I have the world ahead of me too at 59. I do. And so I just feel like I'm not ready to give up. I still want to just, if all there is pursuing the dream, I'm into it. I'm in, because it's pretty fun. I got to say, I like it.
No, I think that's awesome that you still have that, have that drive in you, to go out there
Today,
and do stuff. That's awesome.
today, tomorrow, I'll be with the pillow over my head. Today, I'm feeling very hopeful and very good, But most days I feel like I feel pretty inspired. Recently, I started doing one uncomfortable thing a day. So on Monday, I'd written a novel and I sent it to a literary agent. I was just so sick about, but it's done. It's good. I've rewritten it a million times. I feel like it's ready to go. And I just sent it to him. He's like, sure, Kathleen, I'll take a look at it. Send it in a Word document. And I was like, oh my God. Yes. And then on Tuesday, I wrote this play that's pretty punk rock. It's like glam rock kind of a play, a two-hander. And I sent it to an actress who has connections at the West End. I was just like, oh my God, she's going to hate it. And I'm trying to do that. This is something I've just started. I'm 59. I'm telling your audience right now, do one uncomfortable thing a day. And at the end of the day, it's hard to feel like garbage. You're like, even though I feel exposed, I still feel like if I don't put myself out there, nobody's going to bang on my front door, grab me by the lapels and scream in my face, get me your manuscript, get me your script. Nobody's going to do that. I wish they would. They're not. It took me till 59 to figure that out.
I think that is a great idea. And that's something that I've been kind of learning about, my broadcasting school here at ASU. It's like sometimes you got to be uncomfortable. You got to go on camera and you got to talk, and you just got to keep going, even if you're uncomfortable, because that's how you make it in the industry. So I can definitely relate to what you're saying.
It's exactly right. And what inspired me to do this? I had written a movie and I sent it to my friend who's a super rich. She married a super rich dude and super rich. And I had sent, and all of our correspondence, I'd said, I'd love for you to think about financing this movie. If you don't want to, we're friends first, this whole thing. And ultimately she called me and she's like, I've read your email and I just thought, fuck off, Kathleen, just fuck off. I don't want to do, she had this, and I was just like, oh my God, I was horrified. And then I read every transaction, every text. I talked to my friend who's sort of my big sister, if you will, in the world, and told her about our communications. And she's like, I think you're good. So the worst case scenario happened. Somebody was like thinking I was a money grubber, groveling. I don't even know if she even saw my presentation. I had done a Zoom read through and had actors reading it, and I don't think she even saw it. The worst case scenario happened and I didn't die from it. I'm fine. I mean, I just got to get a thicker skin like I have as an actress. I understand where I fit in as an actress, and I get rejected more times than I get accepted. And it doesn't kill me because that's just the nature of that beast. And I feel confident about my worth in that arena. But my writing and I want to direct, and I am so sensitive that like it devastated me that she thought ill of me in any way. So then that was when I sort of gathered myself and thought, you know what? She's not going to kill me in this way. I'm just going to put myself out there. Okay, literary agent, boom. I'm just going to keep trying to, I hope I stay the course. Because those people responded positively. So she's not the only fish in the sea. There you go. You didn't know I'm in quite a mood. I guess I had a good walk with my dogs today. You didn't know I'd be spewing so much stuff. It's sports journalism gold.
Yes, yeah,
Follow your
absolutely.
dreams.
Yes. Yep, absolutely. So let's see. So real quick, I kind of want to just talk about just a bit about kind of your background and stuff, because I know you were mentioning, you're being big into theater and stuff, and and I know that growing up, had a really big influence on you. So how did you kind of just get into all of that theater stuff?
Well, I think a lot of times there's two types of actors. There's those of us who were born with Christmas tree lights on our head and our first words being, watch me, that kind of actor. And then there's the introspective artist type of actors. And those people are legit and great. And I don't want to take away from them, but I definitely land on the Christmas tree lights on my head, watch me in that group of people. So for me, acting was a calling, right? And I was like the youngest kid in my choir that sang. I got a lot of solos when I was in my church choir. I got a lot of sunshine. Then I went to a school that had a really good theater department, and I got good parts in the plays at the theater department. All basically, I think, because I could sing. And acting was just something you did between songs in a musical. It was just this like weird thing. And then I had an incredible director in when I at my high school, a guy named Rick Mokler, who cast me in a play called The House of Blue Leaves. I played a character called Bananas, and I got bit by a passion for acting, like the snake that gives you the serum for a passion for acting, the poison. I became passionate about acting because the play that we did was moving to the audience, and that exchange from the performers to the audience, that energy that happens between the actors on the stage, the audience, that live kinetic freaking energy was alive and well when I performed that play. And once you get bit like that, it's hard to ignore. So then it's kind of like any kind of great drug. I've been sober 31 years, so clean and sober. But any great drug, once it works, you want more and more and more. And, thank God, acting, the pursuit of acting is positive. And I think, I'm just going to say it, noble. I think it's a noble pursuit. It's a noble art form to want to manifest text and bring it to life. Obviously, it moves people, and yeah. So that's how I became passionate about acting. And then I had a few boyfriends that were working in Hollywood, and they came to see my play, House of Blue Leaves, and they brought their manager to see my play, and he signed me as an actress. And I came down to Los Angeles, and within 3 weeks of being in LA, I went to USC because my boyfriends had gone there in their theater department. I got cast in a movie, this terrible movie, but they cast me. They needed a comedian to play 16, and I got that movie. And that started my whole thing. I kind of worked pretty consistently, paying bills, adventures, whatever, all the way until I was about 45, and then dried up. So then that's how my husband was like, that's how I got into teaching acting, is that I went back to college and got my master's degree, which I thought meant that I was just kind of like a cow to slaughter, going into the glue factory of actors, just like, I guess I'll be a teacher. And what had happened was quite the opposite. Like the door to creativity kicked open. I fell in love with theater again. I started to feel powerful in my life, not waiting for the phone call, but making my own things. Teaching is incredibly inspiring. My students were hilarious at Cal State Long Beach. That's where I went. And that's where I went to get my master's degree. And it was incredible. And I've been teaching ever since. I love it. But what I can say from the rooftops with a megaphone is that it did not take away my desire to create or my confidence as an actress. In fact, it did the opposite, and it drop kicked me into a new plateau of my pursuit of excellence.
You mentioned, doing your teaching stuff, and I think that's so cool how you're teaching this new generation of actors. Because like I said, you've had such a long, amazing career, and you're kind of able to use some of your wisdom and kind of pass it on to this new generation, and I think that's so great.
Yeah, I love it. I teach up at Cal Arts, and I taught us at UCSB. I really enjoyed that. But the kids at Cal Arts and the kids that I taught at UCSB were so smart and talented. And a lot of people in my generation want to diminish people in your generation because of cell phones, and they're distracted, and they're sensitive and triggered and whatever. There's all sorts of kind of bad press in the teacher's lunchroom about your generation. And my interface with the students your age has been entirely positive, except I did teach at a school in the South, and the kids weren't very good, and they were cruel, and it was horrible. And I had some great students, but many of them were just lazy and depressed, and so sensitive about everything. You can't, we're in the emotions game as actors, we're in the feelings game. You can't run away from that if you want to be good. You got to dive into it. Crying is great as an actress. That's how you get Academy Awards. You don't run away from that. That's the good stuff. Anyway, I had to get the heck out of the South and come back to Cal Arts, where I feel like the students were ambitious and smart and talented. And that was a huge moment in my teaching career, because I had been so spoiled with the kids at Cal State Long Beach and in California versus the kids. And I don't want to mention the school, but they were they had it out for the professors. Have you seen that before? Especially they just had it out for the professors. And we were, all of us, in fact, the head of the department pulled me in the office, and he was like, you shouldn't get upset or rattled by this. This is just par for the course. And I was like, it's not par for my course. Like you said, I just want to give my experience, strength, and hope to people. And if they don't appreciate it, it literally felt like pearls before swine. So my husband came out, I blasted out of the South and came to back to LA happily, to back to where I felt like the kids were inspired and talented and ambitious.
Well, I'm glad you were able to find your way back, and
I know, because it was scary, and I mean, I was like, what am I doing? These people are, maybe I'm terrible. I mean, it made me really question myself. But then I did a semester back at Cal Arts, and I was like, oh, my students were so good. And I just had such a great time, and they were soulful and kind and smart. And they really made up for the entire year that I spent at that art school in the South, where my heart got crushed.
Right. Now, earlier you kind of mentioned doing some choir stuff, and I really have to ask if this is true, because I saw this on IMDb. Not sure if it's 100% true, but I have to ask: is it true that you got to perform with the Carpenters?
I know, it ages me. Yeah, we the Carpenters came to Santa Barbara. That's where I was born and raised. And they had a song on the pop charts called, I guess, called Sing. And I don't know if you know, they had a kids choir in the song. La 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 la. Do you know that song?
Yeah.
Sing, sing a song. And they got a choir put together. My church put together, the choir director at my church put together a group of kids, and we sang for Karen Carpenter at the county bowl. It was my career, because at some point, or my career as a performer, because at some point my mother had told me to pull my knee socks up, and I wanted to do everything right, whatever. And we walked out on stage, and the opening measures played, and I stopped Karen and said, "Hold on." And I pulled up my knee socks, and I got a huge laugh. So I don't know how many people fit in at the Santa Barbara County Bowl, but maybe a couple thousand people laughed. I was like, "Oh, this is what I was meant to do. This is glorious." I got a huge laugh, and we sang, and I think that was a pretty one of the building blocks of my desire to perform, for sure. Pretty powerful cornerstone for me.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty amazing. I mean, not everyone gets to say that they got to be on stage with Karen Carpenter. And I'll be honest, Karen, I guess looking back now, Karen was not the only legend on that stage that night. So
Ah, pretty great.
yeah.
Pretty great.
Yep, absolutely. And then of course you mentioned that you went to USC, which well, right now is still another Pac-12 school. We're in the same conference.
Ah,
Not much longer, but for now. So, what are your favorite memories from being at USC?
oh my God. Well, I was in the BFA program. So I had the same 20 kids. I can't remember how many people in all of my classes. And we'd go from like dance class to theater history class to acting class to voice class. And we became very close. So I remember that. I remember I was in a dorm called EVK. I was an all girls dorm, but I was on the top floor. And I remember Sunday mornings, or maybe it was Saturday morning or something, but you could hear the band practice, USC marching band. And it was so magical. And being away from home for the first time, everything was just like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then I auditioned for a film and got it. So now I'm acting in show business and then living in the dorms of my college. I mean, I kind of had the world by the balls. It was a blast. I can't remember like a single memory, like so much of it was great. It's a great time of life. I always say people your age, from the age of 18 to 25, you age 5 years between years. I mean, you grow so much. You fall in love. You get your heart smashed. You get wasted and hungover and feel horrible, and then figure out where you fit in that journey. You get your big first job. All these major life events happen between 18 and 25. To me, that's how it was. I mean, I feel badly for your generation in that COVID kind of stunted your ability to kind of take life by the horns and go for it, to dig in a little bit, because you were stuck inside with a mask on your face. So maybe for your generation, I'd say say yes to the universe from 18 to 28 or 29 or something, right? Because you missed those 3 years. It may take you guys a little longer to find your sea legs, but it's a great time of life. I loved it. Now, I only stayed at SC for 1 year. I dropped out and just worked as an actress after that, but it was big. It was great for me in my mind. Another cornerstone, to be honest with you, for me.
Yep, absolutely. Now, I want to talk about some of some projects that I've seen you in and that I really enjoy your work in. And we have to talk about a movie that and this is really how I first found out about you, okay? And there's two reasons why I'm wearing this ASU jersey. Number one, I go here. But number two, you were in a movie that was shot on campus at ASU in Tempe, 1987's Campus Man, which is such a funny little movie, and it's so cool that obviously it takes place at ASU, my school. I that movie for me, it's like a badge of honor. It makes me so happy. I love it. So what memories do you have from filming that movie?
My memories from filming that movie all surround an actor named John Dye, John Dye, John Dye, John Dye. We became fast friends. He became my boyfriend. We spent days just laughing and laughing. He was so funny. He made me laugh, tears coming out of my eyes, like that kind of laugh. It was such a blast. Yeah, I remember we would there's two things I can tell you that I remember really vividly. One is, in those days you'd get per diem. They'd give you a stack of cash. Now they don't do it because it's all whatever, but they give you per diem, but it's not like a stack of cash, which feels like you could, I used to take my per diem, and when I'd walk into my hotel room as a private moment, just like throw the cash up, like, whoop, it was so awesome. So they gave us a stack of cash, and we had the day off, John and I, and he's like, let's go get some bicycles and ride around. So we bought bicycles, and then we just rode around, and there was a bowling alley. He's like, let's go bowling. So we go to the bowling alley. I said, shoot, we didn't buy a lock. He's like, we're not going to the bikes aren't going to get stolen. This is like he'd always go, he's from Memphis, and he'd always go, it's a good Christian town. They're not going to steal our bikes. And we parked our bikes, and I was like, okay. We bowled and laughed and bowled and laughed. We must have spent 2 or 3 hours. We come back out of the bowling alley, and our bikes were stolen. Like, we're brand new bikes, a couple of idiots. Like, anyway, we just cracked up with that. That's one memory. So the second memory, I don't know why this was hilarious to me, but I got a hold of a life-size blow-up male sex doll. And it was called Kevin Jean the Love Machine. And I found a rope. The prop department gave me a rope, and I tied a noose around Kevin Jean the Love Machine's neck, and of course he had this 12-inch appendage sticking out, and I hung him from the balcony of my hotel room. I'm just saying, I was your age. I'm not saying I was a genius, but I thought that was hilarious. Like, we got in trouble. They told us to take it down. Just stupid stuff like that. So that's what I remember. The entire cast and crew and above the line production people, we all became really close. The director was crazy, out of his mind, hated me. I was like, cool, whatever. He was an obstacle, but no match for the joy that I had hanging out with John, who passed away in his late 30s, early 40s, I guess. For me, it was a huge, heartbreaking loss. He was a magnificent human being, good actor, solid. He was untouched by an angel for years. Yeah, big loss for me. I enjoyed him very much. He's the lead of that movie, John Dye.
Yeah. John's performance is just so awesome, and you guys in the movie, you guys have such great chemistry.
Yeah.
It's and every time I watch it, I can just tell that you're having an absolute blast.
That's true. After the takes, we just laugh and laugh. They'd be cut. We'd be like, oh my God. We just laugh and laugh. It was a blast. That's a true story too, by the way. Oh, see, you're not 59. You don't get hot flashes. They're terrible. Having a hot flash, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it was great fun. Anyway, I love doing that. And ASU was a blast, and they treated us like gold. And I loved the city, and I like the food there was delicious. I love Mexican food; it's my fave. Great Mexican food in that city. Isn't it in Scottsdale or Phoenix or where's Arizona?
Yeah. So it's near Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. We had a ball.
That's awesome. That's so great to hear. And it's funny because there's a lot, and whenever I walk around campus, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of like filming locations that I can just walk around on campus. Like it's like there's places that are in the movie that are still there. There were a lot of scenes filmed at what is the Mona Plummer Aquatic Center, which is ASU swim stadium. A lot of scenes were shot there, and I've been at that stadium to see the swim and dive team. And I want you to know that every time I'm in that stadium or I'm just walking around campus and I see a building that's in the movie, I just think of Campus Man now. That's the first thing that comes to my head.
That's awesome. The I recall shooting those scenes at the pool being problematic because there's an airport, isn't there? And there was a flight pattern. So a minute it got to be about 4 or 5 o'clock, this director wanted to do these long elaborate shots, and invariably they'd have to yell cut. Somebody would yell cut because of the planes coming over. And I thought to myself, like, who decides on a location by an airport? That is the stupid. I mean, if you're going to yell cut every time an airplane flies over, it was so crazy. But again, this director, I can't remember his name, but he was out of his mind. Insane. He was like a crazy person, and particularly had it out for me, I felt like. But I also, when I feel like someone doesn't like me, back then especially, I wasn't very generous to them, so I might have been very deserving of any kind of animosity that came my way. But I remember just not liking that guy at all. So there you go.
Well. Hey, I just want to say that I also want to thank you for just being a part of something so fun in my school's history. And also,
Yay!
I've been showing it to actually some of my friends. I've been saying, "Hey guys, you want to watch this movie that ASU's in?" So I'm showing it to like all my friends. I'm hoping that that pretty soon everyone just here at the school right now will watch it just like I have.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm telling you, it was a blast to do. I can tell you that we really had fun.
Yep, absolutely. And that film was in 87. And in 97, there was an amazing movie. It's one of my favorite movies ever. This amazing thriller film called The Edge with Anthony Hopkins, Alec Baldwin. You're in it. And I mean, it's so cool, that you got to work with these two just legends of the screen. What was the experience like working on that film?
Well, I told you about my strike buddy. That's Harold Pirno. He's also in that film.
Hmm.
Harold and I, that's when we became fast friends. So my memory of that film had everything to do with Harold Pirno and us just cracking up, singing songs from musicals at the Timberline. When we drive up front, we shot that in a city called Banff. And we drive up to the location, and there would oftentimes be a real ram in the middle of the road. It was incredible. The wildlife, the elk, the moose. I had my son, who's now 28 and about to have be the father of a baby. My first grandchild. He was 2 years old at the time, or if that. So he was a baby. So I brought a nanny with me. But I'd take my son to the set, and he was so cute. He loved Elle Macpherson, which is sort of classic because her face is so symmetrical. She's such a striking beauty. And he would just be like toddling over to her. I'd be like, get back here, He was so enchanted by her beauty. He'd just sit on her lap, and he loved Elle Macpherson. But I had a blast, and the director was amazing. And, he'd always let me improv and do these silly things. None of my great improvs made it in the picture. I was barely in it. But I did have a blast shooting it. And that was a great time. And because of my buddy Harold, who's like my picket pal.
Yeah, definitely. And it's it's interesting because you're kind of you're in the beginning part of the movie, and then then you actually appear in like the last scene of the movie.
Yeah, oh my
Now,
genius. Cut.
now the movie would have been better, let's be honest, if you had like gone on like the whole like actual like journey part and stuff after the plane crashes. Movie would have been a lot better, let's be honest.
Thank you. I think so too.
I would have liked to see you. I would have liked to see you and that bear in some scenes. I think that would have just made it way better.
Thank you. I never met the bear. That was, supposed to be great fun. There was a book written about Hollywood and show business and a production gone awry based on that film. I feel like You'll Never Eat Lunch in This Town Again, or one of those kinds of books talked about one of the producers of that film. And I have no idea what his name is, nor do I know nor do I know the name of that book. But there was a lot of behind the scenes shenanigans, I guess, that I had that never touched my life or, my journey there. I just had a great time. So, but apparently, I guess, sort of, I don't know. Anyway. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in that same year, and and then I think this is probably a bit more of an obscure movie that I've seen you in, but in that same year there was an HBO movie that came out with David Schwimmer, Ross from Friends, and Chris Cooper, called Breast Men, that you're in. And it's there's a kind of an interesting role you play. You play the first person to ever undergo plastic surgery for breast augmentation with silicone implants. It's a very, very interesting role that you played. So I thought I'd mention that.
Well, it's good to mention it because there is a funny story that accompanies it. I showed up to work one day, and it was the day that I was going to do my very first topless scene. And I tell all my students and everybody in my life that you should only do nudity if it's necessary in the telling of the story. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing a movie about breast augmentation. I absolutely should have courage and just show my boobs, in this scene, because it's the scene where I decide to get breast augmentation. I had little boobs back then, right? And I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. And I show up to work, and I'm walking down a hallway. We were in this, it was an old hospital that was defunct. It wasn't, it was just a place where they rented it out for film companies. And I'm walking down this corridor, and this woman, she's about 78 years old, and she had she was she spent a lot of time on the beach, put it that way, but she had full wrinkle puss and leather skin, and she was about my height. And my character had these flowers tattooed in a circle, like in the shape of a necklace, down my chest. And I had just gotten out of makeup, and they had drawn these flowers on my chest. And I'm walking down this corridor. This woman coming towards me has the same flowers down her chest. I was like, oh, that's weird. And I'm with the PA, and I say to the PA, is there another character in the movie that has the lilacs on the chest tattoos, the lilac tattoos on the chest? She's like, no, that's your body double. I was like, what? That's my body double? I was horrified. I was like, oh my God, they cast like a 78-year-old lady with like socks with marble boobs as my body double. Good Lord. I was horrified. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, they don't want to use you in the scene anymore. I called my husband. I was like, oh, good Lord, what am I going to do? And I forget what they ended up doing, but I don't think they used that woman as my body double. Thank God. I don't even think, maybe they cut the whole scene out where I was supposed to reveal my boobs, but I didn't end up doing a show my boobs that day, and nor did that woman as my body double show her old lady boobs. I was young at the time, so nobody wants a 78-year-old body double for boobs. Nobody wants that. No disrespect to 78-year-old boobs, but they're not the same as 25-year-old boobs, period. So
Oh my gosh, that's a great story. Oh my gosh, that is that's amazing. Oh my gosh. So now I want to talk about a voice acting role that you did. And you're pretty well known for doing, voice acting and stuff. I know that Pepper Ann was a very, notable show that you were on. But a show that I want to bring up that you were on, it's this again, it's something a little bit more obscure. It's this short-lived early 2000s MTV show, and it's called 3 South. And you voice the character of Cindy. It's this alcoholic older sister of the main character, and you're just hilarious in it. The episodes are up on YouTube, and it's super funny, super funny.
wow. Okay, so I don't remember that.
Really, really.
I don't have any memory of that. I told you the 80s. When was it? It was the early 2000s.
It was an early, an early 2000s show, on MTV. It was very short lived.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, wait a second. Was that with the guy who does the voice for SpongeBob? I do remember going to a studio and we all sat in one room, and there was a guy in there. There was a guy in there that was the co-host with Ryan Seacrest in America's whatever Idol, American Idol. What is it called? American Idol.
Yeah, American Idol. Yeah.
He was the co-host. They used to have Ryan Seacrest and this guy, and they would work off of each other. Kind of, one guy was sort of the straight man, I would assume, at Ryan Seacrest, and this guy was the funny guy. And he was like, I just couldn't stand it. It was so this is my recollection. I don't even know if it's true, but I remember sort of he would tell us about how weird it was that these people would like volunteer to make fools of themselves, and he just could not be a part of it and didn't want to be a part of it, and he quit. And then after, I realized, oh my God, that's American Idol, which became a huge hit. And I always wondered if that guy regretted not being the co-host of the Ryan Seacrest thing, because it would have, launched his career. But I think maybe he's the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants. I can't remember. He might be. I can't remember. But yeah, so that's my memory of that. That's funny. I do remember it. We all sat in this kind of cavernous recording studio, and we all read the material out loud together in one room, which happens sometimes with cartoons, but it was a lot of fun, I have to say. That's great. I didn't remember what that show was called, but I'm pretty sure that's the show you're talking about.
Yeah. And the episodes are up on YouTube. So I guess if you ever go on YouTube and look it up, I'm sure you can find it.
Nice. What's it called? 3 South?
Yeah, 3 South is what it's called.
All right, 3 South. Okay. Right. Good. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Add that to the watch list, I guess.
Yes.
Now, I got to mention some other, we're kind of going off of your voice acting stuff. I know that you've done some audiobook stuff, and I came across this thing on YouTube. Thank goodness for YouTube. It's like this great archive of just all this different stuff. I read this, not read this. I listened to this cool audiobook thing you did. It was for like a fairy tale sort of thing. and the way you were reading it, it was great. It was very, very, very energetic. You're getting very into it. It was awesome. So just how did you get into doing, audiobook stuff?
I was in a writing class. This guy, Jack Grapes, has a writing class in Los Angeles. I recommend it to anyone. Plug. And I met a woman named Maria Semple, and we became fast friends. And I would read her. She was working on a novel. I'd read like 100 pages of her novel. She'd read like 100 pages of my novel, and we would discuss it and edit it. And we'd go on these long hikes and talk about everything. I really enjoyed her friendship. Fantastic. And then she moved to Washington State, and for how life happens, but we just drifted apart, and I didn't hear from her for a long time. The next thing I know, her book was published, this book called Where'd You Go, Bernadette? And I was floored. And then she calls me. She's like, Kathleen, I was wondering if you would read this for my Audible book. I think you'd be perfect for it, she said. And so I talked to my voiceover agent, this guy Eric C. Strand. He's like, yeah, there's no money in it for us as agents, but he helped me with the deal and whatnot. You don't get that much money for it. There's no residuals. It's like a lot of voiceover people, I think, are not too keen on doing it, but I loved it because I know Maria, and the voice in her book is so much, it's such a reflection of who she is, that I was able to really, it's like her words just tripped off my tongue so easily. And I really just had a ball recording her book. Now, the job of the Audible book voiceover actor is one of the toughest acting gigs, I think, out there, because your brain is engaged the minute you roll in around 8:30 or whatever for a 9 o'clock start to record the book. You go from 9 to like noon, you take an hour break, then you go from 1 to 5. You are thinking and engaged and in the game of bringing words to life. And it's incredibly taxing on your brain. Like, I'd finish that, I'd come home for dinner and then be like, I'm just out, exhausted all the way until I get up in the morning. I get on my life cycle, riding my bike, reading what I was going to read for the day, making notes as I was pedaling on my bike, and then getting in my car, driving to the recording studio. And so that really was how I launched my Audible book reading career. I do think that you're talking about something else, though, aren't you? You're not talking about Maria Semple's book, because I did her second book as well. But those are the two Audible books that I've done that I feel pretty proud of. Prior to that, it would have been any kind of voiceover acting Audible book thing that I had done would have been something that I got through doing spoken word. I think that might have been how I did that.
Right. Now, I mean, is there a book? Has there been a time, I guess since then, where maybe you're reading a book and you're like, like this would be a great book to like do like an audiobook for?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, my own. I've written like 2 novels. In fact, that's one of the things I love to write. It's one of my deep passions. So yeah, I wrote this book. I call it the Dead Mother book, but it's not the Dead Mother book. It's a book that's loosely based on what had happened after my mother died when I was 38. I turned it into a novel. I would like to do the voiceover for that book one day. I'm still in the process of editing it. My book writing stuff is very slow because it's I don't know how Stephen King does it, you know. I just don't know how. It's just a very slow, arduous process. In fact, when I sent my first novel to that agent last Monday, I looked at it because he wanted me to convert it into Word for his Kindle. And I looked through it and I was like, because I wrote it in Pages. So when you convert it to Word, some of the formatting was wonky. So when I looked through it to sort of straighten it out, I saw mistakes. I'm like, fixing it. And so I'm still like a little sweating it, hoping he got my revised version, because I sent it to him. I said, wait, the Word document kind of messed up the formatting. So here's the version I want you to read. So anyway, it's an incredible thing that people can churn out books like that every year. I don't know how that takes me forever. So
Yeah. Now I mentioned this kind of at the top of the show. I mentioned how of course you're not just an actor. You're not just a voiceover artist. You make music as well. You're a very talented musician, and you've released 2 albums, "Pitch Like a Girl" and "Shiva." So my question is, and it's a very big question. When are we getting a new album from you? Because I think that would be so awesome if we got got another album.
that's so sweet. Here's the thing. Well, my kids, it's hard to play out at my age, because the people that come to see my shows are people that don't go out, like that's why I believe music is a young person's game, because when I was in my 20s, I went out to go see music all the time. It was great fun. I loved it. But as life goes on, you have kids in your 30s, you still really, I was very much involved in their lives in my 40s. And now that I'm in my 50s, I can see myself playing out, but I have to like beg people to come see me. And, you pay your musicians, and my musicians are all really, they're on tour with, Ben Folds, and like, I work with great musicians because those are my friends. Anyway, it's just a hard game to be at the bottom end of, and I wish I had had some success in my 20s and go on some, theater tour. That'd be fantastic, where my musicians could get paid. But at the level that I'm at, it's kind of crazy it feels really a bit like vainglory to put up a show and play gigs and all of that. Now, I could record my music, but because writing is something that feels like something I'm compelled to do right now, the music is not as much. But I am doing these fan things for money because of the strike. I'm doing this fan fest in Algonquin for the Gilmore Girls. I'll be singing 5 songs there. I think I signed up for another one coming up, but I haven't heard from them in Florida. They wanted me to do 5 songs there. So I will play like 5 songs here and there. I have recordings too that I just never mixed. Maybe I'll get it going. My friend Dean Cameron, he's my old roommate. He just put out a record and it's fantastic. And I feel like that's encouraging to me. I'm going to watch to see how that goes for him. I love his record. It's a Slow Car Chase. Slow Car Chase is the name of his band. It's on Apple Music, and do a plug for him. But yeah, I definitely have songs I could put out, but I just haven't done it. Only so many hours in the day. But right now I like to write these weird plays and movies and books. That's sort of my jam right now.
Well, hey, I will say this: if you ever do come out with another album, so how people went absolutely nuts, when Taylor Swift's new album came out and she's been doing all this tour and everything. Well, that would be my reaction if you came out with another album. So,
thank you so much. That's so sweet. Me, Taylor Swift, how we do. She's amazing. No, that's great. Well, I'm delighted, and I'll let you know if I ever get it together.
Hey, absolutely. Sounds good. And then just kind of my last, question here is just overall, what would you say is the biggest piece of advice that you have for just aspiring actors and performers?
I tell my students this. I think it's really important. They don't get a say. Those people that we talked about in the beginning of this interview, who are the gatekeepers that tell you, no, you don't get to, not you, not now. Don't let them stop you, because your generation, make your own stuff. Do not be one of the people that sit by the phone waiting for it to ring, waiting for somebody else to give you the okay to make your creations. You just go and do it. You go and create regardless. If I wait, for much of my certainly with music, I just made my music. You just go out and make your music. You go out and make your film. You go out and with your friends, shoot something with your iPhone. Create a play. You can do a play on a street corner if you wanted. You can do and again, what's engaged is the sending and receiving between actors, and how much that moves the audience that's lucky enough to be surrounded by your particular project. That has to be the ultimate goal, because if you're chasing after fame and you're chasing after money, I think that's where you run into this empty success and failure, flopped. If you're looking for likes on your stupid TikToks and this kind of thing, I just don't think that is a productive place to place your energy, a productive place to put your energy. So that's what I would say. Make your own stuff. Don't wait by the phone.
Hey, absolutely. That is some amazing advice. Just get involved in stuff, do what you can, and use your creativity. So, I think that's some amazing advice, and as someone who wants to go into broadcasting, I can definitely relate to that. So
Wonderful. And you're doing it. You made your own thing. This is like your own thing. She took a shot in the dark and emailed me. I'm like, sure, I guess so. Sure, I got nothing. This is a good time. Actors are out there. They're, nobody's working, so you can catch them. So I'm proud of you. Your parents should be very proud of you. This is exciting for you. I wish you the best of luck. Are you watching Hard Knocks?
yes, I am.
Because that's the ultimate, isn't it? Liv Shriver's VO
Yes,
on that. Isn't
yes.
that what you want to do,
Oh,
sort of? Or
dude, absolutely. I love him. Always narrating all the HBO sports stuff. Yeah,
ah,
he's amazing,
the
amazing.
king, they call him the voice of God. He really is. He's so good. He's such a good actor. I love Ray Donovan too. Everything that guy's been in, he's crushed. Huge fan of Liv Shriver. Schreiber. I don't know. He's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I could have his job, oh, that would be a dream come true. So,
Well, why not? You're starting out. You're doing it. You're doing it. I give you full permission to do it.
well, Kathleen, just thank you so much for letting me have the opportunity to speak with you today. Just truly an honor, honestly.
Well, you're welcome. And you did a great job. I had a good time. So thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate it.